29 years of my life believing that family was a lifeline, a rope you could grab when the ground beneath you crumbled, a bond that held fast no matter how hard the wind blew. That night, March 22nd, 2025, as I sat in my cluttered Chicago apartment, the faint hum of the L train rattling the windows, I never dreamed that rope would fray and snap, leaving me to free fall into a truth I couldn't unsee. My phone buzzed on the chipped coffee table, its glow slicing through the dimness. I snatched it up, my breath catching at the text. Meet me at the warehouse on 14th Street. 9 p.m., it's urgent. Liam, my older brother, my childhood idol turned walking disaster. The one person I'd spent my life trying to hold together, even as he unraveled me. I grabbed my jacket, my keys clinking like a warning bell I ignored, and stepped into the rain-soaked night, oblivious to the trap waiting to swallow me whole, a trap so dark and tangled, it'd rewrite everything I thought I knew. Let me take you back, because this isn't just about that night. It's about the slow bleed of years that led me there, the wounds I didn't notice until they'd scarred over. My name's Elena Carter, and I grew up in a cramped, two-bedroom apartment on Chicago's South Side, a gray sprawl of cracked sidewalks and dreams that rarely took root. It was me, Liam, and Mom. A makeshift family stitched together after Dad walked out when I was 6. He's a phantom in my mind, tall, rough-voiced, smelling of stale cigarettes, promising me a trip to the zoo that never happened. He left us with a half-empty closet and a note Mom burned before I could read it. She picked up the pieces, her hands calloused from scrubbing dishes at Rosie's diner, her eyes carrying a quiet fire that kept us going. Liam, 4 years older, was my everything back then. He'd hoist me onto his shoulders to watch the 4th of July parade, his laughter drowning out the crowd, or sit with me on the fire escape, spinning tales about the stars. "That's the serpent's crown," he'd say, pointing at a random cluster. "It guards the sky from falling." I'd scribble his inventions in my notebook, my pencil scratching out dragons and crowns, convinced he was magic. He was my shield, too. When I was 8, a bully named Tommy snatched my lunch money, and Liam bolted after him, tackling him into a puddle until he coughed up the soggy dollar. "Nobody messes with my shadow," he'd growled, ruffling my hair. I'd grin up at him, my scrawny knight in a faded Bulls hoodie. Summers were ours. Him teaching me to ride a bike in the alley, steadying the wobbly frame until I pedaled free, cheering as I wove between potholes. We'd pool our quarters for ice cream, licking sticky cones on the stoop, the world simple and safe. Those were the golden days, before the light in his eyes started to flicker. By the time I hit 12, Liam was drifting. He'd stumble home late, his clothes carrying a sharp, sweet scent, not cigarettes, but weed, I'd later figure out. His friends morphed. Gone were the kids with chipped skateboards, replaced by older guys with low voices and quick, nervous glances. Mom caught it first. "Liam, what's this?" She'd snap. Holding up a crumpled pack of rolling papers she'd fished from his pocket, he'd flash that grin, the one that could charm a snake. "Just messing around, Ma. Relax." She didn't relax. She'd pace the kitchen, muttering prayers under her breath, while I hovered in the doorway, my stomach twisting. I'd ask him later, my voice barely a whisper. "You okay?" He'd sling an arm around me, his warmth familiar. "Always, Elle. Don't worry your pretty head." High school cracked him open wider. He dropped out of community college after 1 semester, scoffing that it was a scam for suckers. He started hustling, running errands for sketchy guys on the block, betting on dice games in dank basements, borrowing cash he couldn't repay. Mom's shouts turned to sobs, her hands shaking as she pleaded. "You're breaking my heart, Liam." He'd slouch on the couch, eyes glassy, and mutter, "I've got it under control." I'd play peacemaker, sitting with Mom at the table, her coffee cold, promising I'd talk to him. I'd corner him later, my voice trembling, please for her. For me. He'd pull me into a hug, his shirt reeking of beer and regret. "Rough patch, Elle, I'll bounce back, you'll see." I coped by diving into school, art club, late nights with textbooks, building a ladder out of that mess. I won a scholarship to a state college, majored in graphic design, and landed a job at a mid-sized firm downtown. It wasn't flashy. $50,000 a year, a 1-bedroom with peeling paint and a view of a brick wall. But it was mine. I thought I'd escaped, carved out something solid. But Liam had a way of dragging me back. It started small. A midnight call. "Elle, I'm short, 200 bar tab. I'll pay you back next week." I'd sigh, open Venmo, and send it, ignoring the ache in my chest. Next week never came. Then it was $500 for a sure thing poker game that flopped, $800 to square up, with a guy named Rico, who'd left purple marks on his knuckles. Mom would call too, her voice fraying. "He's in deep. Elena, if we don't help, he might not come back." I'd hear the unspoken, that he'd vanish like Dad. And I'd cave. Over 5 years, I funneled $60,000 into Liam's chaos. My savings, my dream of a little design studio with skylights and plants, my chance at a life not tethered to his wreckage. I skipped dinners with friends, ate ramen for weeks, bought thrift store jeans, told myself he'd turn it around. He'd clasp my shoulder, eyes twinkling with that old charm. "You're my rock, Elle. I'll hit it big and pay you back tenfold." I clung to that promise like a lifeline, even as it frayed. By March 2025, I was a shell. I'd just turned 29. My bank account a pitiful 1,230 Sembers. My apartment was falling apart, leaky faucet, dripping a maddening rhythm, a couch with springs jabbing my back, but I couldn't fix it. Every dime went to Liam, so when that text hit, "It's urgent," it lit a desperate spark. I pictured him hurt, cornered by some thug he owed, needing me like the old days. I grabbed my keys, bolted to my rusty Toyota, and drove through the rain, my heart hammering. The warehouse on 14th. Street loomed ahead. A rusted skeleton of steel and shattered glass. A relic from a forgotten era. I parked a block away, pulled my hood up against the drizzle, and texted, "I'm here. Where are you?" Silence. Rain tapped my shoulders, a steady, mocking beat. I squinted through the dark, then spotted a shadow near the side entrance. "Liam?" I called, my voice swallowed by the wind. The figure waved me over. Relief flooded me. He was okay. I jogged toward it, my sneakers splashing through puddles, my mind spinning with how I'd save him this time. But as I closed in, the shape was wrong. Too broad, not Liam's wiry frame. Before I could turn, a hand clamped over my mouth sour with sweat, and a sharp pain tore through my side. I stumbled, gasping, as 2 more figures emerged from the shadows. My vision swam, leather jacket, shaved head, the glint of a knife. "Don't scream," a man growled, his breath hot on my neck. "We just want the bag." "What bag?" I choked, clutching my side. Blood seeped through my shirt, warm and slick. The woman with the shaved head snatched my purse, digging through it with a scowl. "This isn't it," she snapped, tossing it into a puddle. The man's grip tightened. "Where's the money, Elena? He said you'd have it." "Who said?" My voice broke, but the truth was clawing up my throat. The text? "The warehouse. Liam. This wasn't a rescue, it was a betrayal." They dragged me inside, the warehouse's damp chill biting my skin. My side throbbed, but adrenaline kept me sharp. The man shoved me into a rickety chair, zip-tying my wrists so tight the plastic bit into my flesh. "Call him!" he barked at the woman. She pulled a burner phone, dialed, and waited. Her cold eyes locked on me. After a few rings, a voice answered. One I'd know anywhere. "Liam," I whispered, my chest collapsing. "Yeah, it's me," she said into the phone. "We've got her. No bag, no cash. You said she'd bring it." A pause. Then Liam's voice, tinny but unmistakable. "She's got it somewhere. Check her car, her accounts. She's loaded, trust me." Loaded? Fury surged through me, hotter than the blood leaking from my side. I'd given him everything. Every penny, every hope. The woman smirked, hanging up. "Your brother's a real piece of work. Says you're sitting on a fortune. Where is it?" "There's nothing," I said, my voice trembling but firm. "He lied to you. He's lied to everyone." The man crouched, his knife tapping my knee, a casual threat. "Here's the problem. Liam owes us 50 grand. Said you'd cover it. Said you always do. If you don't have it, you're no use to us." His words sank in, heavy and final. I'd been traded, sold out by the one person I'd trusted most. They tore through my car, flipped my phone upside down, forced me to unlock my bank app. The screen glowed. 1237.43. That was it. My life's worth after years of bailing him out. The woman slammed my phone onto the concrete, cracking the screen. "She's got squat. He screwed us." "Then we send him a message," the man said, raising the knife. I braced myself, my mind scrambling for an escape. But headlights pierced the darkness outside. Tires screeched. The trio froze, exchanging panicked looks. "Cops?" the woman hissed. "Scatter!" the man yelled. They bolted, vanishing into the shadows as red and blue lights flooded the warehouse. I slumped, wrists raw, blood staining my lap, relief crashing over me like a wave. How had they found me? An officer cut me free, his voice steady. Elena Carter? You okay? I nodded weakly as paramedics swarmed in, wrapping a blanket around me, pressing gauze to my wound. How'd you know I was here? I rasped. Anonymous tip, he said. Someone called it in, said you were in danger. Liam, it had to be. He'd set me up, but he'd also saved me. Why? Guilt? Fear. I couldn't process it, not then. They wheeled me into an ambulance, the warehouse fading as sirens wailed into the night. At the hospital, they stitched me up. 8 jagged stitches along my ribs. A shallow cut, but a permanent mark. You're lucky, the doctor said. Lucky didn't feel right. My phone buzzed relentlessly. Mom's calls, Liam's texts. Elle, I'm so sorry. Please pick up. I silenced it, staring at the sterile ceiling. Sorry didn't undo the knife, the zip ties, the betrayal. The next morning, a detective sat by my bed, notepad in hand. We picked up your brother, she said, her tone neutral. He claims he didn't know they'd hurt you. Just that he owed money and said you'd pay. Says he called us when it went too far. Is that supposed to make it okay? My voice was flat. She shrugged. Up to you if you press charges. He's facing conspiracy. Maybe worse if we link him to those 3. We're still tracking them. I didn't answer right away. My whole life I'd protected Liam, covered his lies, paid his debts, loved him through every stumble. And he'd handed me to criminals like I was disposable. But that call, it gnawed at me. Had he really tried to save me, or was it just another con to save himself? I left the hospital with a bandage and a question I couldn't answer. Weeks passed in a fog. I went home, locked my doors, and ignored Mom's tearful voicemails. Elena, he's your brother. He made a mistake. Don't tear us apart over this. Liam sent letters, handwritten pleas scrawled on lined paper. I was scared. Elle, I never wanted you hurt. I panicked. I burned them in my sink, watching the ashes curl, the smoke stinging my eyes. I couldn't forgive, but I couldn't let go either. Then came the twist, the moment that turned my world upside down again. One rainy afternoon, a knock jolted me from my couch. Through the peephole, a woman, mid-30s, soaked and shivering, her dark hair plastered to her face. Against my better judgment, I opened the door. Elena Carter? She asked, her voice trembling. I nodded. She thrust a damp envelope at me. I'm Mara, Liam's friend. He told me to give you this if anything happened to him. My stomach dropped. What do you mean, happened? Tears mixed with the rain on her cheeks. He's gone. Last night. They found him. Those people he owed. I'm so sorry. I took the envelope, my hands shaking as I tore it open. Inside, Liam's messy handwriting sprawled across the page. Elle, if you're reading this, I didn't make it. I know I screwed up. I set you up because I thought they'd just scare you, take what you had and leave me alone. But when I saw them drag you inside, I couldn't let it happen. I called the cops. I know you hate me and I deserve it. But I need you to know I loved you. Always. There's $20,000 in a locker at Union Station. Keys taped to the back of Mom's old dresser. It's yours. Live your life, Elle. Be free of me. I sank to the floor, the letter trembling in my hands. Mara's quiet sobs filling the silence. Liam was dead. The brother I'd hated, loved, cursed, saved, gone. And this, his final act, was a confession, a lifeline, a wound all at once. I looked up at Mara, my voice barely audible. How'd it happen? She wiped her eyes. They found him in an alley off Clark Street, stabbed. He'd been hiding out, but they tracked him down. I think he knew it was coming. I nodded, numb. The next day, I went to Mom's place. She wasn't home, probably at Rosie's, drowning her grief in coffee and grease. I found the key taped behind the dresser, its wood chipped and faded from years of neglect. At Union Station, the locker spilled cash. Crumpled 20s, 50s, his last desperate gift. I stared at it, my chest tight. It felt like blood money, tainted by everything he'd done. But it was real. Mom called that night, her voice raw and jagged. They found him, Elena, in an alley, stabbed. Why didn't you help him? Why didn't you stop this? Her words sliced deeper than the knife had. I tried, I said, my voice breaking. For years, Mom, I tried. She sobbed harder, a sound that clawed at my heart. He was my baby, she whispered. I hung up, unable to bear it, the guilt and anger warring inside me. A few days later, I met Mara again. She showed up at my door, eyes red-rimmed, clutching a photo, her and Liam, laughing at some dive bar, his arms slung around her shoulders. He talked about you all the time, she said, her voice soft. Said you were the best thing in his life. He hated himself for what he did that night. I took the photo, my throat tightening. "Why'd he call the cops?" I asked. She shrugged, tears welling again. "Guess he couldn't live with losing you too. He said you were the only one who ever believed in him." That broke something in me, not the anger, but the wall I'd built to keep him out. I pressed charges, not out of spite, but because he'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. The detective called weeks later. "We caught one, the woman with the shaved head. She flipped, named the others. Your brother's call saved you, but it got him killed. They figured he'd turned on them, tracked him down after." I nodded, the weight settling in. He'd died for me, in his messed up way. The $20,000 sat in a shoebox under my bed for months. I couldn't touch it, couldn't spend it without seeing his face, hearing his voice. But one day I made a choice. I quit my job, packed a suitcase, and bought a one-way ticket to Lisbon. I didn't tell Mom I didn't owe her that closure. Standing on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic, the wind whipping through my hair, I felt peace, real unshakable peace. Liam's betrayal had nearly killed me, but his last act had set me free. I wasn't his rock anymore. I was my own. A year later, I heard whispers through old friends. Mom had sold the apartment, moved to a trailer park outside the city, still working doubles at Rosie's. She blamed me, they said, for not saving him, for walking away. I didn't care. I'd built a life, freelancing as a designer in Portugal, sketching sunsets over the Tagus River, hiking cliffs that stretched into the horizon. The money was gone, spent on a tiny flat with a sea view and a beat-up. Vespa I rode through cobblestone streets. It wasn't about the cash. It was about the freedom. But the story doesn't end there. 6 months into my new life, a letter arrived, forwarded from my old address. The envelope yellowed and creased. No return address, just my name in shaky handwriting. I opened it, my pulse quickening. It was from Mom. "Elena, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know where you are. I found something in Liam's room. A notebook. He wrote about you, about how he wished he'd been better. I'm sorry I blamed you. I lost you both, and I don't know how to live with that. If you ever come back, I'm here." Tucked inside was a page torn from his notebook, dated a week before that night. "Elle's the only one who never gave up on me. I'm in too deep, but I can't drag her down anymore. Gotta fix this." I sat on my balcony, the letter in my lap, the sea stretching endless before me. He'd tried to fix it, in his broken, reckless way. I didn't cry. I didn't write back. But I kept the page, a quiet piece of him I could finally hold without breaking. So, that's my story. A jagged tale of trust shattered, a brother lost, and a life reclaimed from the ashes. What would you have done? Forgiven him? Taken the money and run? Let me know in the comments. I'm dying to hear your thoughts. And if this hit you hard, hit that subscribe button. There's more where this came from, raw. Real stories of family, betrayal, and the strength it takes to walk away. I'll see you in the next one.